President Nana Akufo-Addo has named former Attorney General Martin Amidu as Ghana's first special prosecutor. His appointment will, however, have to be approved by Parliament before he can assume office. Announcing the nomination of the Flagstaff House on Thursday, President Akufo-Addo said he is convinced Mr. Martin Amidu has what it takes to deliver on the job and urged Parliament to approve him.
Good morning. Manifesto for the 2016 general elections, the establishment of the Office of Special Prosecutor, an independent, non-partisan body with the relevant professional capability to lead the fight and hold public officials, past and present, accountable for their stewardship of public finances. The enactment of the Office of Special Prosecutor Act, Act 663/2018, by an MPP-dominated Parliament, is the first stage in the fulfillment of that pledge. Satisfied of the constitutionality and propriety of the legislation, I assented to it on the 2nd of January 2018. The Act, pursuant to Section 13(3), provides for the nomination by the Attorney General of a person fit for appointment by the President of the Republic, subject to approval by Parliament by an absolute majority of its members to perform the functions of the office. The Special Prosecutor, once confirmed by Parliament, will carry an extraordinary responsibility, independently and impartially, to fight corruption. The Special Prosecutor, as the Act states in its preamble, and I quote, shall have full authority and control over the investigation, initiation, and conduct of proceedings of alleged or suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses involving public officers and politically exposed persons in the performance of their functions, as well as persons in the private sector involved in the commission of alleged or suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses. Unquote. The remit of the office, as you can see, is broad and challenging.
And the President outlined the key performance indicators expected of the Office of the Special Prosecutor.
I've accepted the Attorney General's nomination and will in turn submit for Parliament's approval when it reconvenes on the 23rd of January 2018 for its first meeting of this new year, the name of Martin Alamisi Burns Kaiser Amidu to be the first special prosecutor under the law. I have done so because I'm fully convinced that Mr. Martin Amidu, a prominent legal personality who held the high office of Attorney General of the Republic in the government of the late President Professor John Evans Atta Mills, has the requisite integrity, competence, courage, and independence of character to discharge effectively the responsibilities of this new office. Indeed, the Supreme Court itself has had cause to commend the nominee for his public spiritedness in the case of Amidu versus Attorney General, Waterville and Wyoming, when the court, per the respected judge, Doche JSC, had this to say about him, and I quote, "The role of the plaintiff, Martin Alamisi Amidu, a distinguished former Attorney General of this country, needs to be highly commended, as was done in the lead judgment of the court. The plaintiff, in my opinion, must be highly commended for his vigilante role in protecting the wanton dissipation of the public purse," unquote. The court also, in a related suit, had this to say about the nominee. Quote, "The plaintiff, that is to say Mr. Amidu, is to be commended for his public spiritedness, which has fueled his meticulous and industrious presentation of this case," unquote. I can also personally vouch for his public spiritedness. We were on opposite sides in a series of landmark constitutional cases in the period leading up to and in the early years of the Fourth Republic, well known to students of constitutional law, which helped shape the evolution of the Constitution of the Fourth Republic. As Deputy Attorney General as he then was, he conducted those cases with the fairness which should be a cardinal feature of the conduct of any self-respecting lawyer. Mr. Amidu has indicated his willingness to accept the appointment. I thus have the honor to submit to Parliament, when it reconvenes, the name of Martin Alamisi Burns Kaiser Amidu for its approval for appointment as Special Prosecutor.
Minority Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak has justified his decision to push for a parliamentary probe into the cash for seats scandal at the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Parliament last week at an urgent sitting approved a motion for parliamentary probe into the scandal. And appearing before the 5-member committee investigating the scandal, Mr. Muntaka Mubarak said there has been too much contradictions about what exactly happened.
Why did I decide to give the ministry the opportunity to ask this? Because the time I got this document, I was very certain that monies were collected, even when there was denial. All I wanted to do was that to caution the ministry. Because, for example, if the statement that came from the ministry on the 21st was the response I got from the committee, I want to believe that we wouldn't even be here. Because the issue will have been that, oh, they've disclosed that they've collected some money. But maybe the issue is that, what authority did you use in taking that money? Can you make sure that you regularize how you collect money, and make sure that when you spend them, you account for them, how our financial regulations have indicated? But unfortunately, because of the denial and on, and now so many doubts and so many confusion I want to believe not only me, but every ordinary Ghanaian who is following, it simply tells me that our financial regulations might have been breached, because if they collected the money and in a radio interview said that they have handed over all the money to the foundation, when in fact in the ministry's statement, they emphatically stated that they collected the money and issued official receipts. You can only refuse official receipt to cover public money. So once they did that and collected the money at the Ministry of Trade, I saw that as public money, as money that are supposed to be regulated with our financial regulations. And that was my initial concern until all this thing went on and on. So at that stage, I was confused as to who to believe, what to believe. Because if there were 450 experts that were invited, my rough estimation says that, looking at the number of people that were there, I want to believe that some might truly, maybe some did not pay. But even if 100 paid, the last amount of money of $15,000 is supposed to give you $1.5 million. And by my rough estimation, if the ministry says they've taken only 2.6 million, I have doubt because of the initial challenges and the credibility gap that has been created by the number of statements and contradictory statements.
Ranking member on Parliament's Foreign Affairs Committee, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, said the scandal amounts to extortion of money from expatriate business persons, which is also bad for the reputation of the country.
The fundamental issue has to do with whether it is appropriate, whether it is moral, whether it is ethical, whether it is legal for access to our President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to be offered to the highest bidder. It is my contention that you cannot sell the prestige of the office of President. You cannot say that you are organizing an awards and that if you pay $100,000 or $75,000, you will be guaranteed access to the President, first by sitting by him, and secondly by having an exclusive private dinner with the President. It is my considered view, humbly, Mr. Chairman, that there is everything wrong with this arrangement. It is not appropriate. It cannot be justified in any way.
One person has been arrested at Kwamang near Nsuta in connection with the killing of 2 police officers at the Kumeu Road on Thursday. And a 3rd officer who received gunshot wounds has since been treated and discharged at the Ifiduase Government Hospital. The suspect had in his possession a shotgun and an unspent live ammunition at the time he was picked up. The Ashanti Regional Police Commander, COP Ken Yeboah, told Ohiming Teria the man was yet to be interrogated.
The attack on the police by suspected armed robbers is the second on security operatives within a week in the Ashanti region. 3 military officers and a policeman were wounded after armed nomadic herdsmen ambushed and opened fire on the Operation Cowleg team in Agogo. The personnel were responding to a distress call from a woman whose farm was being destroyed by cattle. Thursday's attack is one of the deadliest on the security services in recent times. The robbers, who used locks to block the road, are said to have opened fire on the policemen who were on routine patrol duty.
The armed men ordered me to stop behind a Kia truck parked on the roadside at a spot close to River Owam. They threatened to shoot me if I disobeyed their orders to stop. They forced me to lie face down whilst they ransacked all vehicles that pull up. The robbers shouted and moved towards a vehicle which arrived from Drobonso. All I heard was sound of gunshots, which I initially thought was being fired by rescue police. They took my money but returned my phone to me because it was faulty. We later realized the police officers had been shot after the robbers fled into the bush. Each of them was shot in the head. Some of the robbers are suspected to be Fulanis who could not speak Kuchi.
So we feel any what your team we actually need yet. No se feel any.
Residents of Kumau and the police administration have been commiserating with the wife of Adolf Muche, who had defied ill health to go to work on Wednesday. His wife is heartbroken.
Sorry, Kurana, I don't know, said The death is regrettable. I wasn't aware of the death when I woke up. My husband was sick and struggling to eat when he left home. I called his line, but he did not respond to the call. Later, I heard the news that some nomadic herdsmen had shot some policemen. I called the station officer to inquire about my husband. He was reluctant to tell me what had happened, but I learned he was among those who were shot. I pleaded to see him at the hospital, but I was disallowed. It's quite sad.
The next year, my friend said, "Bra, my friend is saying me."
Meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo pledges government support to the police administration in its quest to pursue and bring the suspects to book. Director of Police Operations, COP Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, led a police delegation to sympathize with bereaved families. He told them police would do everything possible to arrest the suspects. COP Akuribayaji, Director of Police Patrols, was on the team. An hour later, Mr. Ken Yabua announced the arrest of a man in possession of shotgun and ammunition at Nsuta Kwamai.
We've gotten information that somebody has been arrested with a weapon, so I cannot confirm whether it is linked with this case or not.
Where was this somebody arrested?
Around Nsuta Kwamai. It's a shotgun which had also been shortened further, and that is what was found on him, and with some cartridges. So we are now going to interrogate him to find out whether it has any link with the murder.
From Drobonso in the Ashanti region for JoyNews, Amidu reporting.
And that's it for the latest news headlines we have. We have a lot more news. We'll be looking at the latest news stories. But before we do that, the Ghana Health Services, it is taking steps to address shortfalls in the country's healthcare delivery system. And the chairman of the Governing Council, Dr. Yabua, says a nationwide training and orientation program for personnel is set to be rolled out next month. Dr. Yabua indicates attitudinal change towards patients and other clients will be at the center of the exercise. He was speaking at the annual Regional Community Health Improvement Services CHIPS Forum in Kumasi. Love FM's Thomas Pamford now reports.
Professor Obridanso says it's part of the university's initiative to strengthen the bond with affiliated institutions. This will afford them the needed capacity to carry out their mandate.
The establishment of the School of Public Health in the College of Health Sciences, among others, is to also advance the cause of this partnership. The university is ready to train nurses in other specialities, and this includes respiratory nursing, intensive care units, as well as eye care nurses, among others. Plans are also underway to design other tailor-made programs to deal with the peculiar needs of the health sector. And this includes education for all our health training tutors and principals to make sure or to ensure that they develop the needed skills and capacity to be able to work as a team to ultimately provide improved services as well as a better working environment.
He advised graduates to accept postings into rural areas as they are the first point of call in primary health care delivery.
You already know that a lot of us Ghanaians live in the rural areas, and therefore primary and community health care services are the typical points of access for most people, and the location where you are is where care is often delivered. These points are therefore manned by professionals like you. A lot is therefore required of you or expected of you in these challenging times, and I hope Ghana can count on your expertise.
The university graduated a total of 10,171 students, 3,000 more of last year's. Reporter for JoyNews, Kwesi Deborah.
Ministers of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana have bemoaned their poor conditions of service, especially after retirement. The National Ministers' Conference says the situation must be remedied before many people turn away from the ministry. President of the conference, the Reverend Dr. Jonathan Ayite-Mensah, was speaking at the 18th National Conference in Kumasi.
Now, the conditions of service is a very good material, and as ministers, we need to study that booklet to know what is there for us, because when you know your condition, you know your value. You don't have to go out there begging for something that belongs to you. So we need to study the conditions of service for us to be able to move the church forward.
This year's session is under the theme, Character, the Foundation of Ministry. Reverend Dr. Ayite-Mensah wants his colleagues to take a critical look at the subject. He, however, admonished ministers of the gospel to uphold the core Christian values as personified by Jesus Christ.
It has to do with your personality, your core values, the things you believe in, your beliefs and whatnot. So if you don't have a good character, you will not succeed in life. That's why you need character. When you are doing God's work, you need character to stay in God's business, because God has given us his personality in Jesus Christ for us to know that we are doing the Lord's work.
General Secretary Reverend Dr. Anochin Kansa says implementation of last year's conference resolutions will lead to reforms in service conditions.
Because we realize that the church is a bit stifled with respect to resources. So with this, we're able to give substantial amount of money to members who go on retirement. Apart from that, when a member dies, a member is diseased, we make sure that we give substantial amount of money to the family, to the spouse, and to the children. Apart from that, when a minister dies and is quite young, and the children are not up to 18 or thereabout, the conference takes care of these young ones up to, I think, the senior high school level. And also at times what happened is some ministers, for one reason or the other, couldn't make it properly.
Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi Deborah.
And that's it for the latest news headlines. We have a lot more news. We'll be looking at the newspapers, etc. Mama, good morning to you.
Hey, hi, good morning. I'm still, I don't know, I still kind of, I don't get it. Martin Amidu is special prosecutor.
Yeah.
It hasn't sunk yet, you know, it's still, really?
Yeah, it is.
What does it mean? We'll have lots of conversations.
Yeah.
So many angles.
I think that it depends on where you want to take a look at it. For me, my first interpretations when I was on Facebook, just making fun of the whole situation. I said, Akufo-Addo has appointed Rawlings. Akufo-Addo wants to bring into our body politic, probity, accountability, and transparency. Then I also said, you know, Rawlings made a speech at the June 4 celebrations in Ho recently. He said that there was no way he was going to criticize the Akufo-Addo-led government whilst he hadn't removed the speck in his eyes before going to remove the law.
You start from home.
So I said Martin Amidu on my post.
What's that from home?
He's going to remove the speck in his eyes before going to remove the law. And then what I didn't post also was that 2020 was assured for the MPP. Because by the time they finish...
Because of the appointment of the special prosecutor.
Yeah, because Martin will start with previous issues before they will come to the new MPP issues. By that time, 2020 has come. And then he will say, well, some catch up say, no,
well, many interpretations to this. Many.
So that's just my own personal
But there are, I figure that most of the things that we're probably even thinking about is not what he would end up doing.
Yeah, I think so too.